Oh yeah. That was my big introduction. Oh yeah. Oh, Kierkegaard.
For a sunrise or a sunset, you're manic or you're depressed. Will you ever feel okay?
The man still got it. The man still got it. Love Kierkegaard. Let's weed out the fucking annoying viewers early on. I read this again. I've decided to read through all of Kierkegaard's major works again. Fear and Trembling, The Sickness Unto Death, either or. Now, why did I decide to do that? I believe I was called to do so by faith. All right, awesome. I think that the narrow-minded idiots are gone now. I think we can comfortably talk about how fucking cool Kierkegaard is. My name is Zach. I have bipolar type 1 disorder, and that definitely colors and informs every single thing that I experience, including philosophy. And I've seen quite a few people say that if you have mental illness, you shouldn't engage directly with certain philosophy because maybe it could induce delusions or something. I don't know. It honestly, that line of fucking thinking is really insulting. It's really insulting. But here is a kind of a I hope an enriching environment where other people who suffer from a variety of mental illnesses can come together and talk about really cool philosophy like Fear and Trembling, which upon this reread, oh, it's like it was already in my top 10 favorite philosophy books. Now it's a lot higher. Now it's a lot higher. I think that yeah, yeah, it's fun to say and it's funny to say, but I think that Faith was like that was the jet fuel that raised my hand over this book with a knife. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm trying to tie it into the Abraham and Isaac story in some misbegotten, misguided way. But hey, you see where I was headed with that. I do think it was faith, that it is faith, that is compelling me to read Kierkegaard's work again. I love Kierkegaard, and before I was a non-believer, when I originally read his major works, I was a non-believer, but I still appreciated him so much, mostly because of how romantic he was, and also how genuinely existentialist his interpretation, his form of Christianity took. You know, there's so much to love within Kierkegaard, whether or not you are a person of faith or a person of aesthetics, right? We have to keep in mind the three stages of human experience, being the aesthetic, which is basically a redefined hedonism. Then there's the ethical, and then there's faith. I'm going to approach philosophy on this channel the same way I approach everything else, which is candidly, hopefully in a fun way that doesn't betray any sort of intelligence for indulgences of personality. I hope this is an informative video. I hope it's an entertaining video. And I hope it's a video that gets you intrigued by Kierkegaard's philosophy. Fear and Trembling is a study, a philosophical study of the binding of Isaac. When Abraham was commanded by God to sacrifice his son. And then, of course, an angel steadied his hand, and Isaac was returned to him. It's a study of that story from Genesis. It's a meditation on the fear and trembling of true faith itself, of the moral aesthetics, even of true faith itself, the fear and trembling of the faithful human experience. Firstly, I love Kierkegaard's writing. I love the way that Kierkegaard explains his ideas to us. Basically, every sentence drips with pure romanticism. He's such a romantic. Like he's he could be, you know, pretty fucking sad boy, but I think he's such a fucking romantic, and it makes the ideas that he's presenting us with, all of these concepts, affectionate. Emotionally loaded, easier to soulfully determine as a reader. And I've always appreciated that about Kierkegaard's work. And as I was reading it this time, the beginning of it is called a preamble from the heart. And the preamble from the heart is probably the most important part of this philosophical text. The preamble from the heart is followed by three separate problemata, where he really goes into the ethics of true faith. But it is in this preamble where Kierkegaard gives possibly the finest gift that any philosopher has ever gifted curious, desperate, and hopeful readers. Two nights: the night of infinite resignation and the night of faith. Kierkegaard tells us a story about a young knight who falls in love with a beautiful princess and really falls in love with her. I think it's something we can all intimately relate to. Like, he hopelessly falls in love with her. And for the night of infinite resignation, there's a strong emphasis placed on hopelessly devoted. Hopeless. He's hopelessly in love with her, knowing that the love that he feels for her can never truly be realized. It's a certain impossibility. The faith inside of the Knight of Infinite Resignation's heart takes on sorrowful qualities. Kierkegaard describes beautifully the movements that the Knight of Infinite Resignation makes in his gloom, in his devotion, and in his renunciation, in the way that he renounces the material in service to or in want of the spiritual. And he describes these movements the way that one would describe the movements of a dancer, of a wonderful ballerina. Now, you may have seen me wear this necklace in a few videos. It's got a painting from Degas on it, who's my favorite painter. I love ballet. Ballet is one of my favorite art forms. It has moved me to tears. Maybe I'll talk about this elsewhere. Maybe I'll just talk about it here. Fuck it. On January 19th in 2022, I went to see the Royal Ballet, who were performing at in Orlando. I'm from Florida, and oh man, it was like COVID was still a major concern. It was a limited group that was dancing there, and they were playing like Tchaikovsky's greatest hits, right? With the symphony and with the dancers performing from Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, Nutcracker. You get the idea. And my favorite dancer of all time, Sarah Lamb, was actually there. I had no idea she was going to be there. I still do not believe that I was lucky enough to experience Sarah Lamb perform as Odile. It was so beautiful. The movements that she was performing with such emotional, practiced, faithful precision compelled me to cry. And to me, ballet can help me truly experience the grace, the beauty, and the tragedy of what Kierkegaard would call the movements of true faith. And when you're reading Fear and Trembling, you can't help but picture the movements of the Night of Resignation in these choreographed lyrical terms, because there's a beauty to it. There's a sorrowful quality to it. And I think at my best, I have been able to perform those movements, those unrequited yet incredible pirouettes. I think that I have been stuck in the cycle of the movements belonging to the Night of Infinite Resignation for a very long time without truly realizing it, truly visualizing it, or truly even accepting it. Been stuck in a sort of perpetual rhythmic, lyrical, and dance-like rejection of that which certainty has deemed improbable, unlikely, and heart-breaking. This Night of Infinite Resignation knows that he can never have the princess. Yet Kierkegaard is such a romantic philosopher that even in his movements, even in this night's movements of pathetic rejection, of sorrowful, of sad rejection, even in those movements, he is still beautiful. Yet there is something more. Right at the beginning of the preamble, Kierkegaard tells us that no man will be forgotten. Every man will be remembered in proportion to what the man loved. Right? Therefore, by loving God most truthfully, you will be remembered in proportion to your love of that which is the most marveled and the most marvelous. There is a night of faith. And now this is truly Kierkegaard's superhero. This is Kierkegaard's idealized form. And this is, I think, the most optimistic and refreshing character in all of Western philosophy. The Night of Faith performs the same movements that the Night of Infinite Resignation does. Can often feel the same heartaches that the Night of Infinite Resignation does. Loves the princess to the same severity, degree, and intensity that the Night of Infinite Resignation does. He performs the same exact movements, but he does one more thing. He rejects reason. He rejects the concept of ideology. He rejects what a lot of people would call sanity. He truly believes, by thrusting himself into the absurd, that he will get the princess. Even though that's categorically fucking impossible, the Knight of Faith believes the princess will be his, that he will kiss her, that she'll be in his arms one day. And he believes that truthfully, purely, and faithfully. For the Knight of Faith, the only thing that can save him is the ridiculous, the preposterous, the insane, the absurd, which he grasps by faith. Faith starts when thinking stops. Kierkegaard is telling us in Fear and Trembling, through the Night of Faith, that the princess will be yours by the strength of the absurd, because through the absurd, through God, through the insane, anything is possible. Kierkegaard tells us you will get the princess on the strength of the absurd. That's amazing. That's so cool. Faith begins precisely where thinking leaves off. In order to perform the crucial movement of a leap of faith, you must cease thinking. If you're like me and you are plagued by ruminations, just overthinking, just thinking constantly, just over intellectualizing everything. If you're like me, you've over intellectualized passion into something alien, remote, and unrecognizable. If you're like me, the idea of faith being an antidote to thought itself just sounds so nice, so refreshing. And this night of faith that Kierkegaard presents us with isn't to be confused with like a Nietzschean Ubermensch, right? It's not to be truly confused with that kind of philosophical concept or archetype, because Kierkegaard's night of faith, he's not presented to us as some sort of figment of some badass or some masculine ideal. Like in it, Kierkegaard's like, this man, he looks like a tax collector. He looks just so outrageously average. Like that's a night of faith. The guy who is insanely optimistic because of a true faith in God. And I think as readers or students of philosophy, especially Christian philosophy, I think that students, readers with mental illness, I think that we can appreciate uniquely the virtue of insanity itself through an optimistic lens, like the one that Kierkegaard provides us with romantically. And that's what I think, like, Fear and Trembling is so important. That's why I think it means so much to me. And that's why I think I was compelled, inspired to read it again, this time as a believer. So much has happened since the last time I read Fear and Trembling. The last time I read Fear and Trembling, I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder. The first time I read Fear and Trembling, I had never seen the inside of a psychiatric hospital, of a mental hospital. So much has happened. And now, with all of that experience, I return to Fear and Trembling, and Kierkegaard. It feels like I get the dude a lot more, and it honestly feels heartwarming because of how romantic Kierkegaard's prose is, but even more so, how beautifully heroic and free I consider this night of faith to be. So when Abraham, on that long trek to Moriah, upon his ass with Isaac trailing behind, he has so much time to think and to doubt. But does he? No. Not even when he's about to perform the unspeakable. He doesn't doubt. There's a lot in this book also about ethics, right? How ethics come from God, but God does not come from ethics. And how I think the aesthetic understandings of religion are extremely facile. It's like when we say God commanded Abraham to murder Isaac, that is, I think, a deliberate inaccuracy meant to poison the well of the book of Genesis, mostly because a sacrifice is entirely different from a murder. If we're actually using faith as the rubric of understanding, of the rubric to the measurement of our understanding of scripture itself, like, which is how we should interpret that book. If you interpret it any other way, then you're not only being disingenuous, you're being, I think, willfully dishonest with your interpretation of the material, and you're being kind of pathetically aesthetic in your take, in your understanding of that material as well. Now, this title could certainly capture the the silent yet heavy burden that Abraham may have been feeling. May have been feeling. The title also speaks to different parts of the Bible. You can hone your salvation through fear and trembling. That in order to get to the holy, insane, optimistic faith of the knight of faith, that probably requires a great deal of fear and trembling, like a new dancer, like someone just learning the movements, just learning the steps, unfamiliar with the choreography. Before every leap of faith, there must be a period of fear and trembling, because what you're about to experience is the annihilation of thought. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. But fear and trembling not only normally accompanies salvation, but fear and trembling often can be misattributed to acts of true faith. Woo! This fucking book, dude. Kierkegaard is so good. Yeah, I like it so much more right now than I ever have before. I'm really looking forward to The Sickness Unto Death, like, so much, man. That one I remember loving as well. Either or is great. Either or is great. I remember Fear and Trembling and The Sickness Unto Death being really, really special, really, really unique. And I hope they really, really speak to me differently this time. Like, Fear and Trembling has really, really spoken to me really, really differently this time. And I'm like, I think I benefited from reading it through again, because, like, oh my God, Søren, you haven't just shown me how faith operates and colors all of the different players in the human experience. You've shown me how faith ought to color and provide total grace to the total movements of total faith. Like, you've done so much, Kierkegaard. Thank you. Thank you. See, that's how I like to approach philosophy. It's kind of, it's still conversational. This isn't an academic approach at all. I want it to be extremely personal, extremely sensitive, not without a sense of humor or a healthy dose of self-awareness either. And Fear and Trembling, yeah. Yeah, I think that readers who have struggled with their mental health stand to benefit a lot from reading Kierkegaard. Absolutely. The Knight of Faith, I think that's a concept we should all have exposure to, all of us. It's such a romantic thing. It's a concept I love. Kierkegaard, man. I wouldn't be surprised if after I read through all his work again, he becomes my absolute favorite philosopher and reignites my love for philosophy as a form, you know? I think Kierkegaard is so fucking great. One of the coolest. Thank you guys for watching me tell you about how much I love, how much I connected to, and exactly what I think about Fear and Trembling, which is one of the most important works of philosophy ever. And if you haven't read it, you owe it to yourself too. It's unbelievably gorgeous. Whew. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.